2 of Let's Talk Money. And chapter 2 is about don't stash that cash. So let's try and learn more about what it is about holding money. Saving, you are saving, okay, but where are you saving? So, most financial planning fails because we don't have an efficient cash flow system in place. The chapter tells you how to build your own system of managing inflows and outflows each month. Do you know in India they say that Lakshmi is not static. She wants movement and she loves to go from one place to the other. Do you know what does that mean? That means economy has to be moving, right? That is how economy money when it moves it builds up economy. So that is the basic thing. When we say Lakshmi loves the movement, that means this. And let us see how we can help with our individual efforts, how we can build our economy and how we can contribute to our economy as well. Anupama Gajwani is not the usual Indian woman who run into. Growing up with an artist dad in a house filled with paintings and the smell of turpentine, my childhood friend Anu and I are as different as it comes. My steady, boring, planned, and like world contrast with her. Let's eat that cardamom lemon tart now. Life. Freelance designer Anu is a single mom and lives from assignment to assignment. Thinks nothing of taking off to Toronto to see her son cleaning out her bank account. I have never bothered to talk money with her because planning is not what she does and sounds boring when you have so many cool stories to hear. It must be age or stage or a bolt from the sky above that got her. But early January last year, when we met for one of our Sunday lunch sessions, her new passion was getting her money life in order. So at last, a person who was damn care about money at least got into saving money. So let us see how she has moved. Hey, 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 you have to help me. I'll do this now. Now, now, now. Not your usual mid 40s person for sure. I have no idea where my money goes. I know when it comes into the bank, but after that it is a blur, she says. Most of us are like that only, right? We know our salary, our income comes in, and we don't know where it goes. Not knowing where our money goes is not a problem, peculiar to a certain personality. Think back. Don't you remember saying, I have no idea where my money goes, or I have nothing left to save? Or the worst one, what investing plan? Where is the money? One of the key reasons we make these statements is that we don't have an effective cash flow system. Everybody has money to save, from the poor woman who sells veggies to you on the roadside to the tycoon driving by in his beamer. We just don't know how to look for it. The key to finding the money to save and invest is to have a good cash flow system. Sounds like what a company does or the kirana store owner needs to do, and not a salaried professional, right? Think of a cash flow system simply a way to demarcate your money between spending and saving. Chances are that you do have a system in place, but it is rough and not well defined. Your system keeps your income and expenditure largely in sync, but you have not given it a defined form. Money drops in each month, and the living costs kick in immediately. Rent or EMI gets debited, domestic help salaries get paid, utility bills are done, groceries are brought, fees are paid, travel costs are ongoing daily expenditure, as are lifestyle costs. Shopping, gadgets, eating out, movies. The rest of the money goes off to pay the credit card bill, inflated from the indulging in the end of season last month. I know that a lot of the money conversation begins with efficient budgeting. We are told to write down every rupee we spend, to be meticulous about it. I find that boring. Milk rupees 150, eggs rupees 100, petrol rupees 2500, coffee rupees 100, lunch rupees 600. Then tomorrow, the same exercise, and then again. Two things happen if you track each expense down meticulously. One, you get bored and junk the whole exercise after a week of being good. Two, you get obsessive about money and forget to enjoy the coffee or the dinner as you busily think about how much you have spent today. If you have a good way to budget and need the discipline, go ahead and use one of the many apps to track your spending. But if you find that tough to do, just work with the cash flow system. The goal of the cash flow system in the money box world is to conceive of the least troublesome method of managing inflows and outflows of money, and doing it in a manner that automatically separates spending from saving money. I don't know about you, but I have had this experience many times over. Whatever may be the amount of cash in the wallet or in the home cash box, it gets spent. Large chunks of unused money cry out to be used and get borrowed away or spent on an impulse that later you wonder why you gave in to. I remember once being talked into lending a large sum of money to a friend, no longer a friend, for a non emergency situation. She couldn't manage her expenses and needed help. I bought into the sob story and moved the money. When better sense prevailed, the cash was already gone. It took me more than 2 years of nagging to get it back. Not a nice plan to be in. You lose the money, you lose respect for the other person, and somewhere for yourself for getting into a situation like this. And that was a lesson well learned. I moved the money away from temptation. I found a useful way of doing that. Have you found a useful way of spending your money? That surplus that you have somehow managed to keep from your everyday spending? And yes, how do you do it? I'll tell you about an easy cash flow system that I use, and then I'll tell you the science behind it. The goal is to separate our money according to its function so that the brain is better able to map it. I do this using three buckets for the three functions of money. You can use envelopes also. Like, say, whatever spending you have, like, say, you have rent to pay, put it in a envelope. Then you have some fixed amounts are there you need to pay, right, every month. The maid salary, the grocery, the what else, electricity bill, water bill, all these are regular expenses. Your credit card bill also, and your metro expenses, right, your travel bill, daily conveyance bills, all those had to be kept on a separate envelope. After that, you whatever you have got, you have to might be you have to invest in your schemes or whatever policies you have taken. And after that, even you have some cash left. So if that cash is in the bank, you need not bother. But that needs to be the money which has to remain untouched. For that, you have to have a separate cash flow system. If you have cash, so that is the story it is now. If you have cash in your hand, then how to manage it right now at your home. So let us study. To do this is harder than you think. I use three bank accounts. I give them names. Giving names is very important. Why important? One is for your daily spending, another is for your policies and payment, and another is for saving. These are the three names you can give. For those of us who eat meat, would be able to eat a chicken that had a name. Suppose there was a chiku, the chicken running around the front lawn. Would be able to eat it? Don't think so. A name gives something an identity, and we hate to violate that identity. So I give names to the three accounts. My salary account, I level income account. The second account I call spend it account. The third is called invest it account. Once your salary hits your income account within 30 minutes, okay, take a day, but do it. Move out your monthly expenditure to your spend it account. And whatever is left, move it to your invested account. Salary accounts are usually zero balance accounts, so sweeping all the money out is possible. But if you like to leave little pockets of cash for that little bit of extra spending, like I do, keep a few thousand in your income account as a cash reserve. I remember one relationship manager of my salary account calling me very upset at the money moving out so fast. Why is he upset? Because the longer the money stays in the bank, the better he manages to meet his deposit target or the target of getting a certain amount of deposits in the bank each month. So, if your accounts behave very differently, then what happens is the bank people actually start calling you. Why does the bank want higher deposits? Because your money is lent out to others. Loans earn the bank anywhere between 10% to 18%, while you get a 4% interest on your savings deposit. The difference between what you get and what the bank earns minus costs is the bank's profit. Getting back to our accounts. Use your income account as the sum for all kinds of money inflow that we get. You may quickly say, "Oh, but I get only a salary." But there is always some other cash flow, cash that flows into your life, cash gifted by parents or relatives, a bonus, a refund from work, a matured insurance plan, rent from a property you own, dividend on stocks or mutual fund, returns, money borrowed, other than interest earned in the other two accounts. Rest of the inflow into your life falls into an account, your income account. Next, remove from the income account the money you spend each month. We all roughly know what the monthly expenditure flow is like. We know that we spend 25,000 or 40,000 or a lakh or more on living costs. Give yourself a little spending cushion in the first few months of creating this system and move 10 to 15% more than what you think you spend into your spend it account. That is all you have for this month's expenses: rent, EMI, food, salaries to pay, well, credit card bills, utilities, pocket money, medicines, whatever. Set a calendar apart if the month ahead has a premium payment due for a medical, house, car, or term plan, and move that much more money to take care of this additional spend. Now, whatever is left in your income account, move it in another 30 seconds. Okay, at most 30 minutes. Because it is very tempting not to move in your money into some account where you cannot touch. You would like to have that money in your account where you can play with that money. So be careful. Remember that the goal is to have a hands free money life. Remember, what we are doing right now is about creating a system so that once it is in place, you can execute your monthly money moves in 30 seconds. When I began doing this, it took me a long time to streamline my financial life so that it fell into these neat buckets. We have joint accounts with all kinds of family members, and getting everybody to buy into your system at home is an exercise. Begin with yourself first. And if your partner is not helping, create your own system first. You and your spouse must have your individual income accounts. The spend it account is a joint account into which both credit equal amounts for the monthly spending happens, right? Each partner has his and her invested account in different banks. This can be joint, but the primary holder should ideally be the person in whose name the investment will happen. Don't do anything else. Don't think about investing. Just get these three accounts in place. Once they are, start the exercise of moving money out on the day your salary hits the income account. Remember, we are not investing yet. So the money in your invested account is just sitting there. That is fine. That is fine. We have to make a plan for the next 50 to 80 years ahead. What is 3 months of practice? For 3 months, what's your own spending pattern? Is the money you thought you needed enough? Too little? Too much? Whatever your situation, you will get a grip on how much you spend each month by watching how much you move to your spend it account. At the beginning of the month, I leave a bit extra in the income account in the first 3 months to see how much I need in my spend it account. If it runs dry, move more from your income to spend. Moving money from invest to spend it is not allowed in my book. In 3 months, you will know what is going on with your money life. If your invested account is empty, you know you are spending too much. You should be able to move a minimum of 10% of your income in hand each month to your invested account, irrespective of EMI, rent, and whatever else your commitments are. Sneak a peek at the retirement chapter if you are impatient to find out thumb rules on how much you need to save at each age and stage. Two things happened when I began doing this one. I began to question my spending. Once you realize how much is going into your spend it account, you can't hide from yourself anymore. Two, as the invest it account begins to build up, you see how much your saving capacity is. I have had friends WhatsApp me 6 months later and say, I never thought I could save. And look at what I have in my account now. Putting a level of invested deters most people from dipping into it for a splurge. What stops you from dipping into your invested account to pay for your spending? This is where behavioral economics step in. Putting a level on money prevents people from using it for any other purpose. This is called mental accounting, and it means that we like to separate our money into separate accounts according to intent and dislike using it for any other use. When we use mental accounting unconsciously, we end up using it wrongly. Carrying a large credit card debt that cost us 36% interest a year while making the monthly payments to the recurring deposit that gives just 7% interest. A smarter step will be to pay off the high cost loan before spending. But mental accounts prevent us from seeing the two uses of money with the same loan, same lens. When you use mental accounting in the cash flow system, we are using the principle of mental accounting to work for us. When we label the account invest it account, we will loathe to touch it for our current spending needs. We are tricking our brain into doing the right thing. It is done. We have got a cash flow system in place. We are one step forward in our journey to hands free money box. And yes, Anu saw the logic of the system and she is using it and is on her way to a smart money box. Thank you.